And here we go. Digital Adel back with another Hoops Profile Beyond the Backboard podcast for you. I have a special guest today, Saucy Takez himself, Coach Lou. How you doing today, man?
Man, a great day. A great day. Getting fully into the scouting back. You know, I'm just ready, man. This class is exciting. It's long overdue. I'm long overdue to just fully dive in. So I'm glad that you give me the opportunity to come on here and chop it up with you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to have you. For the people that don't know, I met Coach Lou a year or so ago. We've talked about prospects. He's actually the one that told me to check out Adel and his notes, of course, were spot on. Whenever I checked him out, I thought the same thing, and I was like, "Yep, this guy can be an NBA player." And sure enough, he ended up being drafted. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself, where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Oh man, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, Blue Sky at Saucy Takez as well. No spaces with the Z at the end. I guess that's the trendy thing to do. But also, tune into the Miami Heat Beat podcast. Typically, I'm over there. We do draft beat during the off season as well. We try to do a little bit of everything. The written work and stuff will come as the season progresses. I will have my guys and prospects. I'll have a big board. I'll do all that good stuff throughout the course of the draft season. Right now, I'm basically getting my feet wet with mostly all these Duke kids. Seen a lot of their games, but you can find me on X and on Blue Sky.
Cool, man. So what we'll do is I'll put in the description after this is done. I'll put your Miami Heat Beat stuff. So just send me those links and we'll put your Saucy Takez handle and get all that stuff on the YouTube channel for you on this video. This will also be a podcast for people that don't know. It'll go out also on my podcast feed for Hoops Profile, anywhere podcasts are found. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of that. And then next month in February, it'll also re-air on the 5 Reasons Sports NBA feed, as well as where all my podcasts end up going also with the 5 Reasons Sports crew. Real quick, too, before we get into the basketball, a big shout out to John Stepling. He just subscribed today. Really appreciate you. So for the people that are joining us, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to become a channel member, it's only $2.99. Get access to all of our content early before everybody else. But with that, and before further ado, I know everybody's here to talk about Tyrese Proctor. Oh, no, sure. Cooper Flagg. That's right. So let's talk about Cooper Flagg. I've scouted him. I've done some videos on him. I've done some podcasts on him. I'm interested in your thoughts because I know me and you don't always agree on every aspect of a player, which is good. It makes for good discussion, good dialogue, and I'm never always right. And I'm always willing to learn and get some new perspectives. So the real question is, and the way I set the podcast up, is Cooper Flagg generational? What are your thoughts on Cooper Flagg so far?
My first, couple games that I've seen, he's super talented. I don't know if he's the first overall pick yet. I need to get into the other guys right now. I've only seen the Duke guys, but from what I've seen, is he generational? No, I don't think he is. I personally don't think he is generational at this moment. Does that say that he's not worthy of the number 1 overall pick? I don't know. He's pretty damn good though. I'm not going to say, I'm not here to say he's generational. To me, generational is once every 10, 15 years. That's how I view the term generational. To me, Wembanyama was generational. We have never seen somebody like that coming into the league. I thought Zion was on the cusp of being generational just because of his build. Granted, some things, and he had other concerns. That's why he didn't quite get up to that. But it's you shouldn't have a generational guy or that term every draft cycle, But man, Cooper Flagg is special. I think we can say he's special. It took me a while. I was watching the games, and he was 17 for most of the games I saw at first. I was like, this is not normal, guys. He's playing Division I basketball for the Duke Blue Devils, who right now are ranked the 2nd team in the nation. And he is the engine behind their offense, and their defense is hounding. And he has some play in there, of course. I was impressed. Generational though, at the moment, I'd pump the brakes just a little bit, but that's just how I define generational.
Gotcha. No, that's a great point. Generational is a term that people bandy about way, way, way too much. Just like elite, right? Like people are like, oh, this guy's elite. That guy's elite. Oh, this, like someone told me Ben Simmons was elite. And I'm like, come on now. What are we doing? Like he may have had a elite trait, like defensively, he could have been elite. He may have been a very good passer relative to his size, but Ben Simmons was never elite. Like that term gets thrown around way too much. So in terms of Cooper Flagg, I think one of the things people point to when they say he's not generational or may not be generational is the fact that he can go games without scoring 20 points per game in college. Like Larry Bird would score like 30 points per game, 13 rebounds per game, stuff like that. Like they just scoreboard watch or box score watch, for example.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is he does everything. It's not just the fact that he scores, though. He is very good at literally almost everything on the basketball court. Facilitating, he can handle, he rebounds extremely well, blocks shots, plays defense, plays hard, does all the little things as well. So is he generational? I don't think he's quite there at that level. But as you mentioned, he could still be a franchise-changing player for an organization and deserves to go number one. What have you seen specifically, one, that you think that doesn't make him generational from him? And then what do you like from his game? What have you evaluated or personally seen from his game that you can give us?
So the first question, one thing that I don't quite see that makes him generational is his ability to probably and again, he's very good at this, but again, generational is different. Like you're different than everybody else.
Right.
His ability to get to the rim, while it's very good, he uses a lot of pivots and he has some good touch in there. Just, I think he struggles when he's in traffic a little bit. And again, he's 17. He can work on this. Like, I'm not here to trash on the guy, but I do see that he gets himself in trouble sometimes because he tries to force himself into the paint.
Right.
Picked up a couple of turnovers on charges or spun into help. Yeah. Like just in terms of like, he needs time to polish his game. He needs some more game reps. He needs, for any, like he's a 17-year-old playing Division I. Typically these guys are still in high school in their senior years, junior years. So he's ahead of the curve, but what's stopping him right now is probably just his ability to consistently put pressure on the rim in terms of self-creation. Right. He can do it in a myriad of ways, but at the moment right now, that's my biggest thing is just ball security in congested areas. Sometimes he forces himself into congestion when he shouldn't. So it's some of that decision-making stuff where, it's a little bit iffy for me, but like the strength, I have an issue with his strength right now. That I wouldn't mark it as a weakness. His frame looks fine. Like he looks like when he's played against freshmen and sophomore, he looks better. He struggled against some seniors like KJ Adams, really made him work and stuff again in that Kansas game. So I think with some more strength, he's just going to get better and like he will be a franchise changer. Like
absolutely,
100%. Like there's no denying that. Barring any injury, but that's kind of where I stand on his weakness at the moment.
Let me throw some stats at you because he's 6'9", and the thing about him at 6'9", 205, he also has an enormous wingspan, right? Like his wings, he's like a pterodactyl. That's the thing when he unfurls his arms and he keeps his arms out. All these little idiosyncrasies that we don't like about his game. And he's 17. He's playing in college against some seniors, basically grown men, 23 years old, some of them. He's averaging per 36, 22.2 points per game, 1.8 steals per game, 1.4 blocks per game, 4.7 assists, 9.3 rebounds. He's shooting 81% from the free throw line, 35% from three, and his true shooting percentage is 59%. The kid can flat out do it all, man.
Yep.
And that's why he's franchise changing, in my opinion. Like you said, may not quite be generational, but he is franchise changing. The other thing too, I know they say he works hard. I believe his conditioning isn't pro ready yet. And again, he's 17. Who is? Once he gets pro level conditioning and then gets in that weight room, man, sky's the limit for this kid. Could he prove us wrong and be generational? Sure. Absolutely. He has the potential to do that. Are we saying we quite see it yet? Not exactly. Because Victor Wembanyama, as you mentioned, he was playing against grown men in Europe, and you could tell when games mattered, that guy was unstoppable.
Yeah.
There was no stopping him. Completely different and freak measurables for a guy of Wembanyama's size to move the way he does, to be as fluid as his dexterity and agility, his touch from the outside, all that stuff was just completely apparent that he was going to be a generational talent. So, you know, I got a good graphic though. Maybe I'll put it on social media. But if you go to Tankathon, and not all their stuff is right, but they have this great graphic of stats. It has strengths, weaknesses. It goes up to like four like little bars on each side for strengths and weaknesses for each category. Literally every single category is a strength except for turnovers.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah. And that's how I felt watching him too. Like one of the things, I'm obviously new to, like, I didn't watch him play in high school. I saw 2 games from him in high school.
Right.
And one of them, he was the best player on the floor, and it was a World versus USA game. He was, and Traore was there, Ace Bailey was there, Dembasta was there, AJ, like, it was, Edgecombe was there, like, there was talent on the floor, and everybody was here, and him and Traore in specific were, like, above the rest.
Right.
But one of the things that I've noticed that really caught my attention is he is so good of a passer.
Yes. Yes.
And I've been, even the games where he struggled offensively, and again, this is why, like, turnovers doesn't mean he's a bad passer. Most of his turnovers are because he just dribbles himself into trouble. So his ball handle needs some tightening. But his decision making as a playmaker, my goodness. I know that that's going to translate with NBA level spacing, with NBA level athleticism around him. Like, I've seen him make cross court skips relentlessly, like play after play. Like, if you're gonna run the same coverage, I'm gonna throw the same skip. And he's just reading when him and I don't know how to say his last name.
Knipple.
Yeah, Knipple. When they get into the 2-man game and he's slipping and he's playing 4-on-3 offensively, like, you're basically screwed. He can go up, he can lob to Malauch, he can hit the corner to Proctor, the other side to 14, who I'm sorry I don't remember his name, or to Caleb Foster. Like, he can do all these sorts of things, and you see him process at a level that you want to see somebody who projects to be a primary ball handler. Because, like, let's be honest, he can do some off-ball things. But if you're taking a guy number 1, you want him. You
want to run your offense through him, for sure.
And he showed you that he can do these things, and he can help your offense. Even when he's having a bad scoring game, he can find ways to impact the basketball game to help you win the game. Like, and that's, people at 25 don't have that. People in the NBA don't have that. So for him to have that, just turned 18, it's quite impressive.
One of those points that you bring up is that that you brought up is that whenever he has a poor game, like shooting, or isn't able to get into the lane, he finds other ways to be effective. And and that shows up in his free throw rate. His free throw rate's like 45%. So, like, he's always getting to the foul line. And when you shoot 81% from the line, you really help your team. The other thing is his rebounding is kind of insane. Like, he has 6 double-digit rebounding games already on the season. And for somebody that handles the ball as much as he does on the perimeter, he is also, like you said, a very willing passer. He's not a ball stopper. The ball doesn't just stop. But when he gets a matchup too against teams he's favorable against, he can absolutely be an elite scorer. Yep. Like, he put up 42 points against Notre Dame, like that game you were referencing.
Yeah.
And you talk about the efficiency. He was 11 for 14 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, and 16 of 17 from the line.
Ridiculous.
That's NBA level production. Like, he's going to be able to absolutely be a franchise player that you can hang your hat on at the next level. What his career turns out to be is going to be, his up to his work ethic, and from everything that anybody's ever said, including on the Olympic team where they made a point, star players made a point to say Cooper Flagg's the truth. They said his work ethic is what's going to set him apart. Sky's the limit for what that kid can do. So if he fails, the only reason he fails is if something happened where he doesn't want to work, he gets complacent, whatever, what have you. His talent's there. It seems like his work ethic is there.
Yeah, I don't think he fails unless it's injury almost, if I'm being honest. Like, that's kind of where it feels like to me.
Right.
So much of the things that you said, like, for somebody to be this highly praised and, him completely buying into the Duke system, because Duke is running an offense and they're running a defensive system. Like, it's not just like give him the ball and let him work. He's shown versatility to get off ball, to be the roller, to be the pick and roll ball handler, to play in the corner, to play in the slot cut, to play up top, to play in the post. Like, he's doing all these things, and he is having literally his season has only gotten better by every month. He continues to improve and add more elements to his game where you can just see this man, he's still a kid, whatever. You can still see, you can still see this kid like learning on the spot, learning on like the moments, but you just see the impact, the
every
hustle.
Game.
Yes, the hustle from somebody who's this highly touted. How many times I've wrote down he's on the floor for this rebound. He's scrapping to get this loose ball in the corner, chasing it down with three other guys. He's literally on point with almost every single one of his defensive rotations and his defensive assignments, to the point where this is not normal. So it's truly a breath of fresh air, because last year's class didn't have this level of peak talent.
No.
So this is nice to see. But man, he's definitely special.
Yeah,
he's definitely special.
I couldn't agree more. For those watching, again, appreciate you here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We got a lot more Duke basketball prospects to talk about, because they have 4 of them that can go in the top 30. And so it's going to be an interesting year for them. Just real quick to pivot on not to pivot, but that last class, you said it, I said it, and a lot of people said it. It was deeper than the experts gave it credit for. They called it the worst draft class ever. And I don't think that's the case. And you can already see it's not shaping up to be that way. There's some really impactful players. They may not be putting up like all-star numbers, but there's contributors all throughout up and down that draft. And to your point about Duke running an offense, that's what happened with Jared McCain. But Jared McCain's numbers weren't gaudy, and especially in terms of him on ball. They had him off ball a lot. But you could see within that system, the on-ball reps McCain got, it was going to translate to the NBA. And you can definitely see the same thing with the way Cooper Flagg operates. And for somebody that hustles and plays as hard as he does and defends the way he does, he's fouled out of exactly 1 game as a freshman. 1.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. He's been, and like to your point, Duke has ran a system. They ran the system last year.
Yep.
They obviously feature somebody in the system. It's not to say like Cooper has been featured in this system. Like, as the year has gone on, like he's getting more featured. But Nipple has to. Last year, Filipowski was basically the feature, in my opinion, the feature player of the system.
Right.
But McCain was also showing a lot, like especially as the games got bigger. Like he got Proctor was big for them last year too. Like, it's just these guys, they started getting a little bit more playing time, and the system varies per team, per course. It's a long season for them. Obviously not as long as the NBA season, but the tournament's a whole different animal. So I cannot wait to see, Cooper and this entire Duke team, because they should be, I know they're ranked number 2. There's an argument for them to be the best team in the nation right now.
Right. No, they do a lot of great things, and they have a ton of talent on that team. And because all of their prospects outside of Proctor are basically freshmen, they're only going to get better as it gets closer to tournament time. So This isn't the final form of this Duke Blue Devil team. They're only going to improve and only get better. But that you led into Con Knipple, K2. That's my guy. I spotted this kid when I first saw their very first game. Loved what I saw from K2. He's more athletic than people give him credit for. He's super solid defensively. He can be a connector offensively in terms of moving the ball. He makes great reads attacking the close. Obviously, he's a knockdown shooter. I love what he does, man. He's just got a great feel for the game. Now, I think he needs to work on that foot speed in the offseason. His
100%.
smarts are what allow him to work around that. And his feet are just good enough to get by, but at the next level, they're going to have to get better. What have you saw from K2? What do you like or dislike about his game?
So he's somebody that is getting a lot of top 10 buzz from Tankathon, from, Jonathan Giavoni and ESPN as well, who's somebody I obviously respect. I like K2. I wouldn't say I'm in love with K2. I do like what he brings. I have concerns. Foot speed is probably my biggest concern. I want to see, he's athletic in different ways.
Right.
He's really strong.
He's a brick wall. Let's back up before we go forward. I don't think people realize it doesn't matter if it's a grown man, 22, 23 years old, a guard, a forward. If you hit K2, you just get stood up. He's super strong.
Yeah, really strong and really unbalanced with all of his, typically all of his shots off the dribble,
right?
Off the catch. He has this innate ability to just find himself balanced again. Similarly to what I liked about McCain so much last year was that particular trait. K2 has some of that trait. He's not as quick, not as explosive. He's also 6'7". So, he's not 6'2". So some of these things are normal. What I'm impressed with, again, is his ability to play in the system.
Yeah.
His ability to fill a complementary role. He's not being featured, but when he gets the ball in his hands and they're running 2-3 man actions with him, Malauch and Cooper, good luck stopping that. When he's the ball handler or when he's the one setting the screen and flaring out to the three. He's doing it within the offense. I think his passing is probably, again, one of his better traits. I like the fact that he can hit the skips. He makes it a point to hit the roller. Now, granted, they have probably one of the best rollers I've seen, but in terms of college basketball right now. But it's impressive, his ability to make these reads as a secondary or a tertiary offensive engine, and he's able to diagnose these things, come off of screens, play off the ball. I would say my concern with him is he likes to get into the paint and pivot.
He does.
Pivot.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see. I've seen already growth in that because the first 2 games that I saw at the beginning of the year, he did that a lot more than the last 2 games I've seen, which are the most 2 recent games. So, again, self-awareness. He's also an older freshman. But again, impressive nonetheless. He is a lottery. He looks to be a lottery talent at the moment.
Right.
I see him top 5 for some people. A little scary. I wouldn't go that far just yet.
No,
I would have
he's
to watch
not top
more
5.
too.
He's not top 5. I like him a lot. Early in the year, I probably would have had him top 5-ish. But with the rise of Kasper Jakachonis and the way that Harper, Bailey, of course, Flagg, those guys are playing, Trey Johnson, I don't see him as a top 5 prospect. Top 10? Yes.
Yeah, maybe,
he's in the top 10.
Right now, I wouldn't know what he would grade out for me right now, but it's a lottery-ish grade for sure. It's a lottery grade. I don't know how high I can get. I have to see the rest of the class first. But
and the measurables, because I don't know if he's really 6'7". I know he's tall. I really want to find out if he's actually 6'7". I need to find that out.
He looks like 6'5".
Right, 6'5"-ish, something like that.
6'6".
And need to see what his wingspan is too.
Yeah, that's my concern. He doesn't, he's not particularly lengthy. I don't know how much of a multi-positional defender he could be because of the lack of foot speed, but he does provide things that teams would value at the minimum in a very high usage bench role or a complementary starter role, in the NBA, projecting forward, doing some things where he's coming off the catch, secondary, weak side pick and rolls, second side pick and roll stuff. He can handle some of these things. So there's definitely a role player to like in there. I don't know quite what his ceiling is because of the question marks with his ability to get to the rim all the time, his explosiveness sometimes. Not that he's not athletic, he's just athletic in different ways. So, but all in all, I do like K2. I think he can be a contributor in the NBA level.
Absolutely. And we mentioned his ball handling and facilitating ability before. He's got a 2.58 assist to turnover ratio. He doesn't turn the ball over, and his per 36, he averages about 3.4 assists per game. I know I said he's a knockdown shooter, but for people that may not know, I just don't want them to I don't want to assume they know. But he's a 90% free throw shooter almost, 89.2%. He shoots 37.6% from three, and his effective field goal percentage is 56%. The kid can flat out fill it up. And when we talk about him being better defensively than people realize, his defensive box plus minus is a 3.9. It's really, really good. Like, the kid can ball. He just has a great feel for the game. He takes great angles. So whenever you think somebody's quicker and he'd get beat off the dribble, he just takes such a great angle and he slides his feet well enough and he's super strong.
Yep.
So
uses his chest really well too.
So I was going to say, when you get that shoulder and you try to like half past him, you run into his chest and he doesn't move. So like he's really using the tools that he has. But like you said, you really need to see a little bit more development of that foot speed at the NBA level.
100%.
For sure. But they have another prospect. And you said you prefaced it, teased it because you're a pro. The best potential roller in the country. And that's Malauch. How do you feel about him?
You want me to be very honest?
I do.
I fucking love this guy. Like, I am in love with this prospect. And it's unfortunate because obviously, if you guys were here, you know, my favorite NBA team is the Miami Heat. So I know that they're not even going to look at this prospect. Thank God, you know, we have two centers right now, so they don't need a third.
Right.
But my goodness, Adel, is he going to make somebody happy?
Yes, he is.
I cannot emphasize this enough. His upside right now to me is insane. His ability, he has soft hands.
Oh, his hands are fantastic.
Great hands. And that typically isn't the case for somebody who's picked up basketball later in their life. But great hands. Great feet for 7'2", 250. Like, he moves like a fucking gazelle out there. He's dancing with guards, mirroring them. When they get a step, guess what? He's 7'2". Understands screen angles, DHO stuff, when to roll, how to roll, angles to roll, motor, rebounding, tap outs. Like, he is so fun to watch that I personally, if I'm a team that needs a big man, I am filing up for this kid. If I am a team that needs a big man, if I am OKC is going to have a top 5. If I am OKC, I'm taking a good look at him with Chet. If I'm the Spurs, I'm taking a good look at him with Wemby. Functional size at that length. He has no touch. No. He's displayed touch. Like, you know, he's shooting 77% from the free throw line. Like, I know his 3-point percentage is bad, but
on 4.5 attempts per game.
Yeah, his form looks comfortable.
I'm sorry, per 36, 4.5 attempts per 36.
Yes. Yeah, his form looks comfortable. His free throws look comfortable. His touch around the rim, he has only missed one shot as a roller this year. He's 21 for 22.
That's a great stat, actually. That's a great stat.
He is 21 for 22. He has only missed one shot as a roller. Shout out to Frankie from MHB. He was the one who sent me the stat. He'd only missed one shot as a roller. And ironically, I saw that shot. It was a lob that he just missed. He got the rebound and he got an and one dunk out of it. So I guess, you know, that's the miss. I'll take it too. Like, it's insane, his level of just impact for somebody so young.
Right. Well, I'll play devil's advocate. I love Malauch as well. I have him super high on my way too early mock draft big board.
Do you have him higher than Knuppel?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
I had to ask.
I love K2. I love that dude's game. But here's and I'll play devil's advocate with this.
For sure.
One, he doesn't have an array of post moves.
Correct.
Like he doesn't have a very polished game, but he makes up for that with heart, hustle. But also he makes up for that with I think his measurables are going to be insane. Like his actual wingspan and hand size, I think it's going to be crazy.
It might be 7'7".
Yeah, it might be crazy. So I'm really happy with that. But I think it makes it deceiving how athletic he is in terms of vertical explosiveness. I think he's going to be limited there more than we think because he makes up for it with that incredible wingspan and his heart and hustle. So those are the little things that I worry about with Malauch. The shooting, I'm not so worried about. Not every center has to be a great 3-point shooter, but he has nice touch, like you mentioned. Shooting 77% from three. Like I said, 4.5 attempts per game per 36. I think there's more meat on that bone. I am a little concerned about NBA level conditioning because he's only playing 20 minutes a game. Yeah. He's playing 19.9 minutes per game. Like it's a little concerning, in that regard. But he does also block shots. He's a good shot blocker. You know, per 36, he's blocking 1.9 shots per game. So I really like Malauch. I have him. Let me pull up my big board real quick. I think I put it on Fanspo. It's not a full big board. It's like a top 15 or top 10 from like me and Matt did this like a month ago. So it's like wildly different now, probably.
Way too early, obviously. It's the way too early big board, you know.
I do. Yeah. This is the first year I've done a way too early big board, but it was good content for the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Let's see. Malauch, I had at number 11. I had him 11th.
Okay.
And so I had Knipple at 8.
Fair.
Which, man, I can't wait for you to start watching VJ Edgecombe. I was really low on VJ Edgecombe. Not low. Let me preface.
Lower than consensus.
Relative to the hype. Yes. Relative to the hype, I was low on him. And here's the way I saw him when I watched his first 3 games. I know we're not supposed to get into him because you didn't really scout him yet, but I can't help it. He was like somebody that first learned how to drive, and they're learning how to drive on a Dodge Hellcat. Mm-hmm. Like he's so explosive and he's so freaking athletic, but he didn't know what to do with it. But what I'm seeing now, and I've started, and especially the last game I watched, he scored like 30 points or something like that. He is learning how to drive that Hellcat. He's learning when to throttle down, when to take it slow, when to go fast, when to shoot, when to pass. He's an athletic freak of nature. But anyway, there's another guy that the Duke Blue Devils have in this draft class. Mm-hmm. And he was there last season. I wasn't particularly impressed with Proctor last season.
I agree with you.
And that is Tyrese Proctor. What are your thoughts on Proctor's development from last season to this? And where do you think he might go in this draft? Without knowing the rest of the class, of course.
Yeah. I mean, right now he's 21. He's a little bit skinnier of a point guard, but I feel like he's not even a point guard. I feel like he's more of a combo.
Yeah.
He's a combo guard, more of like an off-ball one.
Right.
But in this era with so many jumbo-sized creators, right, who initiate offense, and sometimes you need your point guard to just be able to, like, this is going to sound counterintuitive, like, why is he a good player? Because he's not in the way. You need them to just get out of the way, hit their shots.
Right.
This dude is going to hit his shots. When you get to like the second round, even like late first, sometimes you just start looking at guys with elite skills.
Absolutely.
And Tyrese Proctor, no question in my mind, his elite skill is going to be his floor spacing. Mm-hmm. He is going to be able to shoot from day one. He shoots in a myriad of ways. His jumper is quick. It's nice. Even last year was nice. He disappeared a little bit in the tournament, which kind of scared me.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how he bounces back this season. Mm-hmm. But his effort, his ability to get over screens, I think has improved his like intensity defensively. Again, this all helps because, you know, we talked about Cooper Flagg. He's a great help defender.
Yes.
We just talked about Malauch. He is probably the reason that their defense is so damn stout. Sometimes it's just because he can, do a myriad of things in pick and roll coverage
Right.
that other bigs typically can't.
Mhm.
So, but still, Proctor being able to fit in the system, fit in the scheme, hit some simple passes, do some simple things, but at the same time, just have that ability to shoot the three ball. To me, that is the most important thing for him, as well as just he takes care of the ball. Like, he doesn't put it in harm's way. I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater or,
Right.
like a must draft, but he's somebody who you should be looking at if you're looking to, if you have one of these, like Orlando has Paolo. If you need a 6'5" point guard next to Paolo who can hit threes, maybe you should lick his direction a little bit. If the Lucas of the world, the Cade Cunninghams of the world, like the bigger guys who typically initiate, and the point guard is more just for defensive duties and to shoot 3-pointers, the Lakers, like, what they're hoping that Gabe Vincent would have turned into, like, that's something like I've seen Proctor do, his ability to, dribble off the catch. I mean, to shoot off the catch, shoot off the dribble, one dribble pull-ups. Like, these things are things that I think can translate eventually. Not saying he's a first-round pick, because I don't think that's going to be the case ultimately, but it's just somebody that I'm fond of for playing a role on a winning basketball team. And I haven't seen him pout or be disappointed or upset in any of the games.
No,
it's been quite the opposite.
No, I agree with you. I think he can be a winning piece, and you need role players that can be like a part of your winning, part of your success. And the fact that he shoots 41% from three on 5.5, almost 6 attempts per game is a valuable skill set in today's NBA with all the space and pace. One of the things too, like you said, he doesn't turn the ball over. He's not going to facilitate a lot for you, but he's not going to hurt you either. Yeah. And that's part of getting out of the way. He shoots well from the free throw line, but a concern I have is he doesn't get there at all, man. His free throw rate's like one of the worst in the country. It's like 0.1. It's what is it, like 15? No. Yeah, is it 15%? Yeah, 15%. Yeah. Like for a ball handler, but that's the thing, he doesn't really handle. I mean, for a guard, like that's just a really low free throw rate for a guard. But his shooting is phenomenal. His finishing in the paint worries me a little bit. I mean, his field goal percentage is pretty low, like 42%. So I wonder how that's going to translate in the NBA, if he's going to struggle getting, finishing in the paint or getting to the paint. But you need those 3-point shooters. So I'm thinking bottom of the first. If somebody reaches is like, I need 3-point shooting, very bottom of the first or high second. I don't think he's going to be a low second round pick.
No, I think he's probably should be in the mid 50s. Mid 40s at most.
Yeah.
Like, I think his, if it sounds unfortunate, you don't wish injury upon anybody, but like, if we see, Khan miss a couple games, or Cooper missed a couple games, I think he's going to be the guy that's going to have to take an offensive leap forward.
Yeah.
I don't wish for them to miss an offensive game, but like, or in the tournament, what does Proctor do? How does it impact winning, even when the shot's not falling? Because that's if he's just going to be shooting and playing defense, but his defense isn't good enough to keep him on the floor, and his shooting isn't hitting, then he's not on the floor at the next level. So, obviously need to see some growth from him. I just think that he stood out in big moments for me in these games, and his ability to space and to just, like, again, get out of the way. Sometimes it's just that simple. I mean, we know what team you watch. We have somebody who does the opposite. So at point guard. So, like, it's nice to see a change of pace of a point guard who can just take a step back and let the other guys create. But when it comes to him, he can make the right read or just, hit that knockdown shot, even if it's contested.
And he's a decent defensive player too. He's not going to kill you defensively either.
Yeah, that's why that's more so my impression. Why I was impressed with him. I think last year they ran a lot of smaller guys out there with him. Foster was there, McCain was there, and Proctor really had to guard up.
Yep.
And I don't think that's where his strength is whatsoever. Mm-hmm. This year, with them having Khan, alongside him, he's more guarding 1s and 2s, and I think that suits him a lot more than threes or bigger wings. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think
his physicality, he's just not physical enough for that. He doesn't have the athletic profile for that. So I agree with you. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes. We already kind of know where Coop's going to go. K2 is my guy. I think he's he's a top 10 player. To close this thing out, do you have any final thoughts on the what you've seen? Anything that you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah. So, obviously, as I watch these games, I take notes. I try to hyper focus on one player, but I take notes on other players too. That something that catches my eye, somebody makes a good play, and I could not help myself but keep watching Carter Bryant from Arizona.
Yeah,
he is somebody who stood out like a sore thumb on defense. Yep. He was so damn impressive. Talk about sliding your feet, talk about length, talk about athleticism. And then I hear, like, it's funny because I go into this, I don't know anybody.
Right.
I don't know a soul unless they were there the year before and I've seen them. I don't know who they are. So I'm like, oh, I didn't see this kid at Arizona last year. Granted, Arizona had they had Pell that came into the draft. They had Kashad, their center left. So maybe he was buried in the depth chart. I understand it. But no, I come to find out he's legitimately a freshman. He's not getting much playing time. It's hard in an Arizona program to get playing time as a freshman, point blank period. So, but he's really impressed me defensively in particular. I think the jumper obviously looks like it needs some work, just mechanical wise. But again, I've seen him like late first, really early second, 25 to 40 range. If that's where he's going, I'd be content with what I saw through one game. Obviously, I need to watch more. I'm gonna do my due diligence, but just somebody who stood out on a very basic level of like first watch, he definitely caught my eye.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point that he only plays 16 minutes a game, but when you see him, they're impactful minutes, especially defensively. Like his box plus minus is a 5.8, which is outstanding.
It's actually crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't even look at that.
It's an outstanding, box plus minus score. And his per 36 numbers in terms of just raw stats are crazy too. Like 2.2 steals per game, 1.5 blocks per game at 6'8", and he gets he averages about 7 rebounds per game per 36 minutes as well. So he is a very physical and raw prospect that there's a lot of meat on that bone. And for a guy who is as raw as he is and as young as he is, he doesn't turn the ball over. So he's another one of those guys that plays within himself, doesn't try to do too much. So I like him. I like him too. I'm interested to see more, to see what ways he grows, and if he decides to actually ultimately come out in this class, or he's going to wait for 2026. So we'll see.
I'd be interested to see that. I have one last question for you.
Yes,
just
sir.
Because I'm generally curious. You were really, really big on Yves Macy last year.
I was, and still am.
That was your guy. I really liked him, just not for my team.
Right.
But I was also very fond of Macy. My question to you is, I've seen one other person do the comparison with Kaman Malauch to Yves Macy.
Right.
Do you see any truth behind that? And if so, who did you like more as a prospect?
So there's a couple of things. I don't want to get into.
I don't like doing player comps.
I don't, but I don't. It's a very lazy comparison for Malauch to Macy in this way. They're both from Africa. Yep. They both are athletically gifted in terms of fluidity.
Yes.
And they have good measurables in terms of height, wingspan, and all that, the way they carry themselves. Great feet. I would say that they're different types of players. Like, Macy is all heart, hustle, and he has an innate feel for angles. Like, Malauch, I think, has a longer wingspan. We don't have his measurables yet, but I think he makes up defensively for his rawness with a lot of just pure, tangibles. Macy's was a lot of intangibles, like just feel for the game, angles, where to be, when to be, and timing. So I think they're different types of prospects. I would say Malauch probably has a higher floor or higher ceiling than what Yves Missi does. But
yeah, I'd probably agree with you.
But Missi's only been playing basketball for 5 years, something like that.
Yep.
So it's the potential there is for Missi to continue to grow offensively. And what he's done in the NBA right off the bat and continued that all season is insane to me. Just crazy to be able to continue to do that. The one thing I love about Missi that I'd be really interested to see with Malauch, he never takes shots that he shouldn't take. He's always just poised. There was a game, I did a video breakdown on my YouTube where Missi, they put him in jail basically. It was the end of the game, 15, 20 seconds left. Someone gave him the ball with 3 seconds on the shot clock. And the person guarding him, I think it was Anthony Davis. He gets the ball. He doesn't panic. He does a good drop step, reverse pivot, pump fakes, waits for Davis to get off his feet. With a second left on the shot clock, he doesn't panic and then lays it up off the glass. Now, he's still learning. I don't know if Malauch has that kind of offensive poise.
Yeah, I'm curious to see because he's so, he's such a role playing big right now. He's
Right.
doing a lot of the things that you see from these rim protectors and interior lob threat centers and stuff of that nature. So
Right.
I do. Missi also had his ability to put the ball on the floor at Baylor a little bit.
That's a big one, a big difference.
Malauch hasn't been able to explore that. So, I mean, not to say that he has it, but we can't, we
don't
also
know.
haven't seen it. So,
Right.
we just don't know. So I just thought it was curious because I'm very intrigued. Just in general, I feel I've scouted obviously several draft classes now.
Right.
And it's just something I'm trying to get better at because I do feel like typically I'm lower on centers than I should be.
Yeah.
Just because you can dunk and rebound and that's all you're gonna do and set screens. That's cool with me. What else can you do? But I may have been undervaluing that trait or aspect of a big man because sometimes you just you just need your center to do their things and get out the way.
Well, so I'll give you this tip. One thing that I've learned is that you watch if a big man can move like a little man.
Mm-hmm.
If they can do that, that's a special trait that you can't teach.
100%.
And so the fact that Missi is able to not only switch and be switchable on the perimeter, but also to be able to handle, he makes spin moves, he's always on balance. The fact that he can play in space like that for his size, that's what tipped me off that he's different. And so when you can watch a big man flip his hips and be able to change direction, those are all just huge indicators of something that's going to make a big man more successful in the NBA and at the next level. And then, of course, you have all the other stuff you stack and layer on top.
I asked the question because I was just curious, from my standpoint.
Right.
I've been typically lower on bigs. They finish lower on my draft board, even if I do like them.
Right.
It's just, maybe positional scarcity too, and just having somebody who's functional at that size is worth more than the upside of a good guard maybe or a decent wing or whatever it may be. So it's just something that I was internally discussing with myself for a while now.
No, it's a great discussion to have. And I think a lot of it, and I can't speak to why you do it, but I think a lot of fans and I think a lot of people that watch basketball, they are enamored with the offensive side of the game and they miss the little details that the winning plays and things that make teams effective. So it's a sexy thing to see a guy that can cross over, hezzy tween and shoot. You're it just 100%. Is. It'll catch your eye faster than a big man that can flip his hips. It just is, And so, yeah, man, I think you're great at what you do. I wouldn't be too hard on yourself. Big men are hard to scout. The jury's still out, man. 3 to 4 years from now, we'll figure out how this all shakes out. In the 5 Reasons Sports Discord, they always get on me because I like Missi over Ware, before the draft, right? Ware's had a great 7-game stretch, and now all of a sudden wow, how could you dare Say Messi over Ware. I mean, we'll find out. Ware's super talented. That was something I said from the beginning of the draft also. He's super talented. The question was, can his basketball IQ be there? Can he build good winning habits, consistent effort, all that stuff? But yeah, man, like I said, big fan of yours. I appreciate you taking time out. Again, real quick, just tell the people where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
It's going to be at Saucy Takez, SAUCYTAKEZ. X, Blue Sky, and on Miami Heat Beat at MIA Heat Beat. You'll find some draft beat stuff. I don't know how much we'll do of it because, you know, the Heat and their pick situation is fucking disgusting at the moment. But, you know, we have hope that they lose a lot of games. So that's what I'm hoping for, at least. Sounds counterintuitive, but we have no real prize if we win any game. So I'll take the losses.
I got you, man. It's going to be really interesting of how it all shakes out with the Jimmy Butler trade. Like, do we get picks back? Do we get players? Like, what do we get? Because I want a 2025 pick, even though it screws the Miami Heat's flexibility to make trades in the future for like the next 3 years if they get the 2025 pick. But it's all going to be very interesting, and it'll be good for content. And the fans like new and exciting players. So I appreciate you stopping by. I'm Digital Adel. You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, all under that handle. 5 Reasons Sports Network as a contributor. Crimson 8. We have Terry, the perfect tank commander.
Yeah, that's why I need more Terry minutes.
Dude, man, I'd rather scratch my eyes out with a rusty spoon than continue to watch Terry pound the ball into oblivion and shoot 28% from 3. No, thank you. Get him out of here. But that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.